To continue talking about the station of Bani Swift and Helwan South station under the construction, as well as the Asyut, the west of Asyut. It's importantly within the upcoming 2 years to add 5,530 megawatts. That we never actually heard about this number before. We're only doing this within 2 to 3 years. That would show the development of the power generation stations in the Upper Egypt, and it is expected in 2018 to 2017 to reach 18,366 megawatts. That means we've already entered the double size of what has been in place within the last 55 years ago. And of course, it is a promising land. Wouldn't have any investment nor development without having the electricity generation. As an engineer, I say that we never reach to the level that we are in need for concerning the quality and services. We are still doing to reach that we wouldn't have any shortage of electricity for even 1 second. No, just allow me, Your Excellency, when we talk about the deliverance, we also need to talk about what we are waiting for. We'll talk from the people, from the citizens, that they are receiving such a service. I'm sorry for the interruption, but it is very important to form for the public opinion that the service it is vis-a-vis is a return. And if you're not getting the return, of course, the service will be deteriorated and will be finished. If they're not getting the real or the actual payment, not the subsidized ones, we're not going to complete. It is a culture that need to be formulated when we're talking through or before the public opinion. We talk on what we are talking about. It's costing about 4 point something US billion dollar, and in order to operate such a station, we will use another fuels, whether it is gas or other types. This return we are getting in or not? If we can't, how are you going to pay for? If it is not being presented before the people clearly, that let them know that one of the service that's been deteriorated, that the state never had a return of such a service, therefore it's been deteriorated. Therefore, it is possible to say, if we are talking about 2014, that we are moving effectively, that could may be right, but to be honest with the Egyptian people, I say the story is not just like that. The issue is that not the state used to provide service for the people, and we never get a return for that. So that's why it is going to be, it was deteriorated. If we were talking about the railway services, we are talking about that we are in need of 80 billion Egyptian pounds, and you cannot talk about the fare or the tickets. So such a facility, if we're not getting the actual fare of it, how do you think the service would be? So I hope from you, when we are talking about that what we are doing, if we're not getting the planned return that we are hoping, it is not going to work well. Thank you. In brief, the cost of what we are talking mostly of the current exchange, currently that would reach 130 to 140 billion Egyptian pounds. This is the job that is being done in the station, and then we'll be talking about the distribution grids. So the rate of that we are delivering the service, so it costs about 46 piastre, and it would cost the state is more than 60 piastre, and that would be like some sort of 80 billion Egyptian pound. And the prices, eventually people will pay the actual price of this of the service, yet we're not going to forget about providing subsidies for those needed. It is importantly also to maintain and reserve such energy. So the consumption, it is very important. So in order just to misuse the service, back to the presentation I started with you, the surplus, this picture has been taken on the 3rd of January 2017 of the Bani Suif station that have the turbines dams that are operated, and other 4 steam turbines to generate 4,800 mega. It is importantly for the station to have already been linked to the grid, that need to be linked to the grid on the 500,000 volts we are contracting to with Egyptian and foreign companies to deliver 1,500 kilometers on grids of 500 volts. Mostly we are doubling the grid. That shows we are strengthening the electrical capacities. And the next slide, West Asyut station that has been opened by the president. This is a picture within or inside the station that whoever is operating the stations, from the young people, educated, being vested on a high level. These for the equipment within the station that which shows the mobile stations. It is clearly that we've already installed in Malawi and Samalot in New Asyut, i.e. We used to have 20 mobile stations. We've entered 14 of them in the Upper Egypt and 6 only in the Lower Egypt. This shows the installed station. This for the south of Helwan will be entered the service in 2018. Back to the transmitting the electricity in the Upper Egypt, that would shows that till June 2017. As you all know, all these stations is just like for high volt lines that reach 26,000, and all the lengths is about like 17 or 1,700 meters. During these 3 years, the number have already changed. We've already increased 2,700 megawatts. That, i.e., is 11% within only 2 years of what has been installed and established over the last 60 years. These lines being delivered and to be under the current. And the next slide, it is importantly to install more than 4,000 megawatts and to install about 1,000 kilometers of the lines. That would show that the strengths or the need of strengthening the infrastructures. This tower, the highest one we've done, has been installed on January to deliver or transform the electricity from the Nile. It is the highest tower in the history. And also we have a controlling rooms. It is very important to look after and pay attention for the controlling rooms. to have some sort of a smart grid that include transportation lines and controlling centers. Just to assure you that there is some sort of a strength in the infrastructure of producing and transporting the energy. The most important is the company distribution, so that would actually concern the public. I would show you until the 2014 we have only 2 companies that serve the Upper Egypt, which shows the quantities of the installment. The number of participations or the subscribers is about 5 million. And we used to do some sort of investment for distribution companies, and that of investment cost not less than 200 million Egyptian pounds. And as you can see, that would show that we've made a very progressive plan to reach the value of investments within the upcoming 2 years or till 4.4 billion Egyptian pound, which is the 11th double of what's been done before. That which shows the importance or our concern of the service of the power and to be shifted in a very vast steps. I'm not going to get into more details. We're talking about 1.6 billion Egyptian pound for the distribution companies in Bani Suef and Al Fayoum. We are allocating 100.8 billion Egyptian pound that is located for installing these lines within only 2 to 2.5 years. And it is very important for the president just to look, or that is pay too much concern of just doing such distribution companies only to the half of the term that has been planned. The area that we are talking about, it's the western East Nile and Komombo. It is in a very promising zones of the wind energy and the solar and wind energy that we are planning to enter to deliver 3,000 megawatts of the renewable energy, but it is expected within the upcoming 2 years to be doubled. The last thing, we are making a cooperation agreement with the Ministry of Housing that's due to the high voltage lines that would affect the housing units that is linked to it. So about 300 million Egyptian pound for the very dangerous places. But when I mentioned 4.4 billion Egyptian pound, a large part of the grades is entered in such allocations. Not to talk about more than that, I just leave time for you to do some sort of interventions. And I hope that I've just given you in brief the size of investments we've been entered the area of the Upper Egypt that would reach 130 billion Egyptian pounds. Thank you, Mr. Engineer Shakir, Ministry of Electricity. What is being presented, it would actually give a good example of how much investments being served, that which shows how the horizon of development is in the Upper Egypt, and we hope to hear good news about the Golden Triangle from the Ministry for Industry. one step back, talking about the development in the Upper Egypt, it's full of human power and natural wealth, representation of antiquities and agriculture. Yet, the advantage would be sometimes a default, because it is linked seasonally for the tourism and agriculture would affect actually the economy of the Upper Egypt. What we are looking for is just to enter the industry using the natural resources in the Upper Egypt. We have three challenges, such as the business environment and the infrastructure, being mentioned by His Excellency Minister of Housing, Minister of Electricity, talking about the water and sanitation, and of course it's coming by the budget of the state. To enter the training and prepare the young people, and there is a training center, the industrial training center, trained more than 7,000 trainees in the Upper Egypt, and the social fund expended 1.6 billion Egyptian pounds as loans for the SMEs, in addition to more than 350 million Egyptian pounds to develop and the infrastructure that SMEs are working, adding to 140 million Egyptian pounds for training more than 55,000 trainees came from the Upper Egypt. With respect to the technical education, so we are working with the cooperation with the Ministry of Education and the EU to focus on the technical education in the Upper Egypt that have 3 points or 3 pillars, which is the school, the teacher, and the curriculum. And we've made studies for more than 80 technical schools, and we've made a tender, and all the equipment related to the technical education are on the way. We've already trained more than 140 teachers and more than 120 curriculum developers, and most of them are coming from Aswan. In addition, that we are serving all these trainees to exhibit their products in Cairo, and we've already started to do some sort of exportation. And the third pivotal, which is very important, which is the investment, the SMEs and the micro enterprises. It's very important that still require more investment in the SMEs, because it would get feeding industries as a result that we can actually see in Alexandria and Cairo that need to be doubled and to be vested in the Upper Egypt, and we're working in more than in pivot. So number one is to attract the investments just only for the industrial part. In the law, investment law, we've already looked at all the productions that we are exporting that require to make it here in Egypt. And of course, that include the incentives of investment law that compared to the Delta and Cairo, to the vis-a-vis actually the investment to be allocated in the Upper Egypt is going to be doubled. And we've already started to establish some specialized industrial cities, and we've already started the last Friday. We've already entered the physical study of the textile city in Armenia. We are working also in the medical equipment city in Luxor and Mant zone. We've already